Nobody in that audience knew what was about to happen. The lights in the theater were warm, golden, buzzing with the kind of electric anticipation that only exists before something extraordinary. Thousands of people sat in their seats, phones raised, voices murmuring. The judges settled into their chairs. Simon Cowell leaned back, arms crossed, wearing that familiar expression, the one that says impress me or don't bother. Then Christian Hale walked out. He didn't look like someone who was about to change the room. He was wearing simple clothes. His hands were trembling slightly at his sides. He walked to the center of the stage slowly, carefully, like a man carrying something fragile inside his chest. The audience gave polite applause. A few people whispered to each other. One woman near the front tilted her head, studying him. Simon looked up. "What's your name?" "Christian Hale," he said quietly. "And how old are you, Christian?" 34. "What do you do?" Christian paused. He looked down at his shoes for just a moment, then back up. "I used to work in construction. Before the accident." The audience went still. Simon's expression shifted, just barely, just slightly. "What happened?" Christian cleared his throat. 3 years ago, I lost my son. He was 6 years old. After that, I lost everything else too. My job. My home. I was living in my car for almost a year." He stopped. Took a breath. "Music was the only thing that kept me here." Someone in the audience started crying before he even sang a single note. Simon leaned forward now. The crossed arms were gone. "What are you going to sing for us today, Christian?" Christian looked out into the audience, at the thousands of faces watching him, at the cameras, at the bright lights that had a way of making everything feel both enormous and impossibly lonely at the same time. "I wrote this song," he said. "For my son." And then the music started. The first note that left Christian Hale's mouth did something that is almost impossible to describe. It didn't just fill the room. It broke something open inside of it. It was deep, and it was raw, and it carried inside it every sleepless night, every cold morning in a car, every moment of a father staring at a photograph and wondering how the world could keep moving when something so irreplaceable had been taken from it. The audience gasped. Not politely. Not with the kind of mild surprise that comes from someone being pretty good. They gasped the way people gasp when they see something that genuinely shocks them, when reality suddenly rearranges itself into a shape they weren't prepared for. Simon Cowell's mouth opened slightly. He said nothing. He simply stared. The other judges turned to look at each other, but no one spoke because speaking felt wrong, felt like it would puncture something sacred that was happening in that room right now. Christian sang with his eyes closed. His voice moved through the theater like something alive, climbing, aching, trembling at the edges in a way that felt not like weakness but like absolute, devastating honesty. Every word of that song had been paid for with real pain. The audience could feel that. You cannot fake that kind of weight. You cannot manufacture it. It either lives in a voice or it doesn't. It lived in Christian Hale's voice completely. By the second verse, the woman in the front row had both hands pressed to her face. By the bridge of the song, there wasn't a dry eye in the building. A man 3 rows back, big, broad-shouldered, the kind of man who probably hadn't cried in years, sat with tears running openly down his face, not even trying to wipe them away. And then Christian hit the final note. It was long. It was devastating. It was the kind of note that hangs in the air after it ends, that you feel in your ribcage even when the sound is gone. The theater was completely silent for 2 full seconds after the music stopped. Then the audience erupted. They didn't just applaud. They stood. Every single person in that building rose to their feet at the same moment, and the roar of it was something you could feel in your chest, in your bones. Christian opened his eyes. He looked out at thousands of people standing for him, crying for him, and his face crumpled, not with sadness, but with something that looked like relief. Like a man who had been carrying something impossibly heavy for a very long time and had finally been allowed to set it down. Simon Cowell stood up slowly. He walked to the edge of the judge's table. He looked at Christian for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was quieter than usual. In 20 years of doing this, Simon said, I have heard a lot of voices. I have sat in a lot of rooms. And I can tell you, without any hesitation at all, that was one of the most extraordinary things I have ever witnessed on any stage. He paused. Your son would be incredibly proud of you. Christian covered his mouth with his hand. The audience screamed louder. Simon pressed his button. The golden buzzer exploded. Gold confetti rained down from the ceiling like 1,000 pieces of light, spinning and catching the stage glow, falling over Christian Hale as he stood in the center of it all, a man who had lost everything, who had lived in a car, who had written a song in the dark for a little boy who would never hear it, and who had just made an entire arena feel, for a few extraordinary minutes, exactly what he felt every single day. The camera caught his face in that moment, surrounded by gold, tears streaming, eyes wide, looking up as if he was saying something to someone the rest of us couldn't see. Some moments on a stage are performances. Some moments are something else entirely. This was something else entirely.